Okay. What's up, everyone? All right. Liam, and today we're doing the whole time. Basically, I'm going to be sort of explicating the structure of the plot twist. But before we do that, small spoiler alert for the following films: Reservoir Dogs, The Others, Angel Heart, Saltburn, The Usual Suspects, Fight Club, Shutter Island, Rosemary's Baby, and Get Out. All right. Okay. First thing to keep in mind. Plot twist is not a unexpected or surprise ending, or at the very least, it is irreducible to that. For example, the last scene in Reservoir Dogs, where all the characters shoot each other, surprisingly, unexpectedly, not really a plot twist. Besides the surprise, the three sort of definitive sub-concepts that you need to understand the plot twists are retroactive rearticulation of previously digested information, a sharpening of the awareness of the subjective position from which you see the film or read the story or however you like, and misdirection. So, first one. All right. Retroactive rearticulation of information. Okay. So, in The Others, these three people apply for the job of basically the help in Nicole Kidman's house. Nicole Kidman, Grace Stewart in the film, and her family. So, during this interview, at some point, the help says to Nicole Kidman, who is, of course, the person that's going to hire them or might hire them, they say to her, you don't have to show us the rest of the house, basically. That's fine. And, watching this for the first time, you might say, maybe they just perhaps know what the house might be like, or maybe it's not so important. But anyway, towards the end of the film, or at the end of the film, you have a plot twist that both Nicole Kidman and her kids, as well as the help, were ghosts and had lived in this house the entire time. The only difference was that the help knew that they were ghosts. So, therefore, when you remember that scene where the help says, you don't need to show us the rest of the house, you retrospectively understand that this wasn't random. This was because, they've been to this house, they've lived in this house. Another really good example is from Angel Heart, late 80s thriller. And so it's about this detective, Harry Angel, played by Mickey Rourke. And basically, at some point during the film, Mickey Rourke is interrogating Dr. Fowler, and Dr. Fowler is basically killed. We don't know how. But towards the end of the film, you have a plot twist where it is revealed that it was, in fact, Harry Angel who killed Dr. Fowler. But Harry Angel didn't know. I won't get into why. But the really great thing about Angel Heart is that after after the revelation, after the plot twist, they show you again the scene which you had already seen, basically, of Dr. Fowler being shot, but this time you see Mickey Rourke shooting him. So in this way, this film filmically embodies your own sort of cognitive rearticulation of the previous events that had just taken place. Okay, so second sub-concept, awareness of subjective position. Now there's a sort of small typology that I should explicate first. So you either have your awareness sharpened, that you have the subjectivity of the narrator or the main character, or the narrated to. And we're going to start with the latter. So in Saltburn, pretty recent movie, maybe some of you have seen it. Very briefly, the movie is about Oliver, sort of middle-class guy, and Felix, sort of posh upper-class English guy. So at the beginning of the film, Oliver talks a lot about his sort of harsh upbringing, and Felix sort of takes him in. He feels sort of bad for him. Anyway, so this is a film with many sort of micro plot twists. It is revealed that Oliver was in fact lying about his background, and Oliver then proceeds to kill Felix and slowly take over basically Felix's life and Felix's family, down to basically his mother. Felix's mother is the last person surviving from this family. Now, throughout the film, Oliver has been narrating the story, basically. And he's been telling a story, so you might assume that, all right, we're seeing it from Oliver's perspective, he's telling us the story. But at the end of the film, it is revealed that Oliver was in fact telling his story to Felix's mother on her deathbed. So this is how, sort of when you watch a film, perhaps you might assume you're simply seeing it from a from an objective position or sort of neutrally, but actually you were seeing it from this particular character's perspective. You just sort of weren't aware of it, and this is sort of one of the things the plot twist can do. It shows you that, oh, all this time, the whole time, I was seeing it from this perspective. Another really good example, really great movie from the 90s, Usual Suspects. It's framed as an interrogation between Verbal Kent, who's a cripple, and Agent Kuyan, of course, a detective. So throughout the film, Kent, gives this long story telling him what happened, and it involves this gangster called Kaiser Soze. So to be brief about it, the interrogation ends, Verbal Kent leaves, and then Agent Kuyan realizes that the whole story that Kent had been telling him is completely made up. And in fact, Kent is Kaiser Soze, the sort of feared gangster. So again, because Verbal Kent is, in one sense or another, narrating the story, you might assume this was told from his perspective. And, this is an assumption you might, continue the film in, until the plot twist, until the moment of revelation, where really you understand that this was all a fake, and in fact, you are Kuyan. You're not Verbal Kent. Okay. Now we move on to the other type within this typology, which is the subjectivity of the narrator and or main character. It depends. Super famous example, Fight Club. So Fight Club is about Edward Norton's nameless character who meets this very exciting guy called, what is it called? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's Brad Pitt. Tyler Durden, thank you. Yeah. And so it turns out at the end of the film that, he doesn't exist, but more specifically, he is Edward Norton. And, again, Edward Norton is the narrator, he's the main character. You don't really realize this until the plot twist. And so, although, yes, you were viewing it from Edward Norton's perspective, but this is something great that the plot twist can do. It shows you the sort of, sorry to be a bit sort of jargonistic, the sort of the otherness of subjectivity, and that you are sort of not who you think, shall we say, to be sort of brief about it. Another really good example, and plot twists have these a lot, Leonardo DiCaprio, Shutter Island. DiCaprio is a detective looking for this inmate on Shutter Island, just this sort of mental asylum. Turns out at the end of the film, he was that inmate the whole time. I'm sorry, I like to nail this point home. Yeah. So anyway, so plot twists often have this, that the main character that you've become so intimate with turns out to be someone else completely, and even they had no idea. In the case of Saltburn, and in the case of The Usual Suspects, this person knows that they are not the person that they are showing you in the film or in their narration, but then you understand who they truly are. I prefer the second category, because I think it's sort of more powerful, that you even don't know who you are, whether you are the character or the audience. In this case, both. The character and the audience's perspective, shall we say, are completely aligned. Okay. This is going to be a real fucking mess. I have to clean it up, but I will survive. Yeah. Okay, final subconcept, and I think the one that's sort of most colloquial, and we know it pretty well, misdirection. So, Rosemary's Baby, a great movie from the late 60s, my personal favorite movie, but it doesn't matter, of course. Yeah. Okay, so at the end of the film, it is revealed to Rosemary by her neighbor, Roman Castevet, that she had been pregnant with the child of Satan, basically. Very simply. And this is revealed in one sentence, and it's this sort of very shocking, horrible moment. It's a surprise, and yet not a total surprise. So, throughout the film, Rosemary was suspicious of her neighbors, of the Castevets. And she finds this book, or this book is given to her rather, and it's a book about witches, and she's convinced that the Castevets want her baby for a sort of witch ritual. They want the baby's blood. So this was a sort of distraction, though, on Ira Levin's part, to distract you from the fact that, or from considering that her child is the spawn of Satan, and that's, sure, the Castevets and the witches do want the child, but not to have the child's blood. It's because they're Satanists and they want to take care of Satan's child. And again, so this is how you're sort of misdirected by the sort of emphasis on witchcraft, because in some sense, it's sort of rational. It makes sense within that world. Now, for a quite recent film, Get Out, 2016, I think. And basically, to give you the spoiler/plot twist, it's a film about a white family who takes African-American men, takes over their bodies and puts their white relatives' consciousness in those bodies. So throughout the film, also, you are suspicious of her family, of Rose's family, because they're acting sort of awkward. They clearly sort of want something. There's something wrong. And Chris, the African-American character, of course, shares with Rose this awkwardness that he feels towards her family, or that something is wrong. And, rightfully so. But this is a great use of misdirection because it makes you forget the fact that, well, she is part of that family. So Jordan Peele, what he sort of does is create this sort of binary, if you will, for lack of a better word, between, the awkward family that we don't trust and we're suspicious of, and Rose, who is sort of a place of comfort, of solace that you can come and complain about the family for. Of course, it turns out that at the end of the film, she was in on it the whole time. She had a bunch of black boyfriends, and by the way, she had lied to Chris in the beginning of the film that he was the first black man she dated. And it turns out she had dated quite a few black men, and many of them were the people that ended up, or that you even see in the film, having their consciousness replaced with one of her relatives. And yeah, that's it. Like and subscribe, and thank you very much.